Good morning, everyone. It is That By Guy 3000 on Sunday, December 23rd, 2 days before Christmas. And yesterday, Doug and I were talking about holiday traditions and basically the lack thereof in terms of anything that would be identifiable for me in terms of a tradition. So, what ended up happening was we were discussing that, and there was, two instances, throughout the years that made me realize that there was nothing ever defined by me of what I wanted a holiday tradition to be. So, to start off with a simple example, with my second ex, given my family lived in Illinois and her family was right nearby us in North Carolina, everything revolving, everything involving the holidays was focused on her family. So she and I never had the opportunity to establish our own tradition, which in and of itself is, in my opinion, pretty sad. But there were things that she wanted in terms of a family relationship that I didn't want, and it caused, major conflict between us. And it's it's healthy that we're not together. There's a part of me that, I understand where she's coming from, and I just was never going to be able to provide that for her. So I am sorry for that. That's all right though, because it comes down to being the person you are. And if you're not being true to yourself, then how are you going to be true with somebody else? But then we were out to dinner right before we went and saw this very clever musical movie called Anna and the Apocalypse. For me, it felt like Shaun of the Dead met High School Musical. It was a little weak near the end, but it had some good musical numbers. So if you ever have a chance to see it, I highly recommend Anna and the Apocalypse. And but we were out to dinner, and Doug asked me like what my holiday tradition was growing up, and it created a little anxiety within me because it made me realize everything centered around getting my mother's house ready for the annual cocoa and cookies shindig, whatever you want to call it. And given there is a good 10-year, approximate 10-year age gap between me and my sister from that marriage, um, just so happened that I would say going on as early as 8 to 10 years old, somewhere between that age and going on, it was always about getting the house ready for the family members to show up. And in turn, there was a lot of just put downs because I wasn't always cleaning the house and getting it ready. And I know how much stress this put my mother under, and that stress was put back on me. And then the day of the event happened, and there was just this act like, oh, everything's great. No worries here, but nobody gets to see what happens behind the scenes before the event happens. And when you're 8 to 10 years old and then going forward, I understand that you are supposed to be taught responsibilities as you get older and everything. But when each and every year comes down to knowing what stress is going to be inflicted upon you, it doesn't make for a very fun holiday tradition. And it later became that I didn't want to go. Like when I was in college, well, I should say when I was in college, I was back at home, so I had to help then. But even after college, I didn't want to go, and I always felt obliged to go. And once again, it comes back to identity. It comes back to what I wanted to do that made me happy. And unfortunately, I never discovered that. And over the last couple of years, even being on my own, It's not so much that I was going to establish a tradition, it was just the fact that the holidays were something not to look forward to. There wasn't anything enjoyable about it. There was no happiness involved with it because I always thought about the past times when I was miserable. And granted, I will say a lot of that was part of my depression and how my depression impacted my feelings about the holidays. And what was funny was when I went to Las Vegas mid December last year, I spent the holidays in a room on a inflatable mattress with my two cats, and for the first time it was actually, I was happy because I was finally doing something on my own that I didn't feel required anyone else's input on it. And honestly, I'm not sure if I'm making any sense right now, but I felt like this was a perfect opportunity to speak about this subject, given that it is the holidays. And I really like the fact that as I'm going along and making these videos, I'm hitting on relevant topics that are applicable to me, that I hope are applicable to the viewers who are watching this. And the one thing that as we were leaving, we went to the mall, then we went to the movie theater, and we were talking, Doug and I, about what kind of tradition we wanted to have. And the thing that was terrific was we don't we have plenty of time to determine what kind of tradition we want to have. And we also discussed that, there are things that Doug likes to do, and I'm not really too keen on. He likes to go and look at the Christmas lights. And one of the things that I have found is being willing to share in those experiences, even though you may not like those experiences. Good case in point was I'm not a big fan of Italian food. Doug is. But what we did was a few months ago, we went to a Comic Con, and afterwards, Doug wanted to go get Italian. And I'm like, I really didn't want to, but you know what? I did. The reason why I did was because Doug was kind enough to go with me to the Comic Con, and I have to be kind enough to go to an Italian restaurant every now and then. And I don't look at that as compromise. I look at that as accepting what each other likes. And that's one of the great things about Doug and me is that we are establishing what we want to do together, but being respectful of our individuality. And the one thing we also talk about is the vulnerability. And this is a difficult time and of the year, just the holidays in particular, but when I deal with self-doubt all the time and depression. And one of the great things with having a full-time job again is that I'm going to be able to get that help I needed and progress from there. So I'm just pleased with the way things are going. I am dealing with a little bit of stress at the moment, but that's something that can easily be overcome. And the great thing is I have a terrific support system with Doug. And I feel confident knowing that even when I'm in my darkest moments that, I know I'm the one responsible for pulling myself out of it. But it's also great to know that Doug's there to help me through it. And even if you are by yourself during the holidays, just know that you are not by yourself in spirit, however you want to put it. Reach out to friends. Be more open. Be more candid. Because that's the one thing I just shelled up. I didn't, I didn't allow myself to ask for help. And a lot of that stemmed from my upbringing. That it, to me, it felt like it was a sign of weakness if you ask for help. And it has taken many years to finally break that barrier within myself, saying that there's nothing wrong with asking for help. So I understand that this is a very trying time of year for people, especially when they're dealing with depression and anxiety. Just know that, there are people who care about you, who love you, and, you know, just get through one day at a time. And when the holidays come, just look at it as, we've made it through another year, and just go from there. So thank you very much for watching. I am on Twitter and Instagram at ThatByGuy3000. As I mentioned in my previous videos, I am interested in hearing any kind of suggestions or recommendations you would like me to do about topics, because I believe we're all interconnected in this mess of a universe, but it's our mess of a universe, and hopefully things will improve in 2019. So, but thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe to my channel, and share. Let people know this is going on. And thank you for watching. I love you all, and I'll see you all next time.